What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be talking about how quarterbacks can get a better throwing motion. So we're going to be talking about some of the key mistakes that quarterbacks will make with their throwing motion, how you guys can get more velocity, more accuracy, and avoid that elbow and shoulder pain due to an efficient motion. So I hope this video helps you guys out, but also you guys, if you're a QB and you guys want to get better this offseason, better this summer, we are traveling out to 3 more states for 2-day long QB and wide receiver training camps. So our next stop is going to be Nashville, Tennessee on July 2nd and 3rd. Then we're coming out to Salt Lake City, Utah, and then finishing it off in Los Angeles, California. So fellas, these are 2 days, 4 hours each day of learning in a small group atmosphere. It's not going to be a million QBs or a million wide receivers like a showcase camp or any of that. It's about teaching and helping you guys develop. So if you guys are local to these 3 states, would like to come out and get some work in with us, check out that very first link below, fellas. Let's get started with this video. So we're going to be showing this clip. This is a high school quarterback, and then we're going to be showing a clip of Tom Brady. And the main thing I want to get across to you guys here, we're going to be kind of comparing and contrasting the two motions. But the main thing I want to get across to you is that there's not one single way to throw a football. Everybody's different. Everybody has a different body type. A lot of people are similar, but everybody throws the ball different. No two throwing motions are the same. But there are a couple key things that can make you a little bit more efficient, more accurate, and take stress off your arm that you see the best guys in the world do. So the main thing I want to talk about here, I'm going to play this thing full speed. As you can tell from this throw that this quarterback loves to lean out of the throw a little bit, and he lifts the ball. That's the one key thing with your throwing motion that we want to try to avoid. So when you guys are here and you're in a position to throw, he's in a pretty good position to throw. Back legs under his shoulder. He's in a powerful position. He's ready to throw this thing before the wide receiver breaks. And this is a big time ball right here. Now, when he goes to throw, the key about throwing with power and velocity is torque. You want to be able to have hip and shoulder dissociation. So what does that mean exactly? That means that you want your hips to be driving towards the target as your shoulders stay loaded back, and the hip rotation is what brings the ball through. Very similar to hitting a golf club, very similar to hitting a baseball. When you hit a baseball, you don't open up your shoulders same time you take your front stride. You keep the baseball bat loaded, you take your front stride, and you pivot off that back foot. It is the exact same thing with throwing a football. Now, when you go back, we're talking a lot about the throwing motion. On foot strike, you need to have some kind of backstroke position. Now, by backstroke, I mean a lot of people say that you want to get to this opposite L, where instead of lifting the ball directly to this 90 degree like this QB does, you want that ball to be tilted like more forward and your elbow and wrist are like parallel to the ground, if that makes sense, right? They call it an opposite L because they want you to get to that opposite L position. So when you strike the ground and your hips are rotating through from the opposite L, you can go up to the vertical 90, which you see this quarterback get to. Now, again, everybody says opposite L and you want to go 90 degrees to 90 degrees. It does not have to be that way. And for people to say that is extremely unrealistic because no two quarterbacks throw the exact same. You look at Aaron Rodgers. He takes the ball back. It's very quick. I'm going to show a clip of Tom Brady right now. When he takes the ball back, he has the nose tilted down, but there's some kind of backstroke position. That is where we want to get to, and I'm going to explain why. So when this quarterback goes back and he just lifts the ball on foot strike, one thing that happens is when you're at 90 and your front shoulder's coming open as the foot gets down, there's not much torque there. And the reason why there's no torque is because your hips are starting to rotate through, same time your shoulders are starting to open. So that's essentially like hitting a baseball with just swinging your front shoulder open as you're pivoting the back foot. You need to have a delay with your shoulders, and that's where the backstroke comes into play. So when you guys go like this and you guys open up the same time as the front foot gets down, if you guys rotate with your hips enough, that's when that football will start to dip behind your head. So when you guys go lift the ball to 90, your rotator cuff works in 2 parts. You either go from backstroke up to 90, or you go from 90 to the ball dips behind your head, or you have a lean out of there with your shoulders, which can be very inefficient. And that's what this QB does at times. Now, a lot of guys have the ball dip behind their head. They'll get the front foot down, they rotate their hips, but that ball will dip so far behind their frame, and that puts a ton of stress on their shoulder and their elbow. Now, this QB doesn't rotate a whole ton with his hips. So if you guys don't rotate with your hips and there's not much torque there, the one source of power is going to be from your front side. So when your front side dips out of the throw like this, the problem is your release point gets flawed because your body is split down a midline. You want to think of throwing the football like you got a pole that goes down the middle of your back, all the way from like your waist all the way up through your head. And you want to just rotate on that pole. That's how you literally want to think of it. You want to keep your back straight. You don't want to let your eyes fly off of this. You want to just be a rotational athlete. But when you don't have that rotation from your hips, you're going to rotate from something as a QB. And when you rotate from the shoulders, that's what can flaw the release point and make it leave your frame. When the head dips out of there, when the shoulder dips down, the arm flies. Here's the midline. When you fly left, the arm flies right. And so that makes you inconsistent. So that all is based on how he takes the football back and getting to that backstroke position. If he would have gotten to a backstroke rather than lifting the ball, if he would have got maybe his elbow off his rib cage a little bit and got to that, I'm going to say opposite L, but you guys know it doesn't have to be a perfect 90. If you're able to get to that backstroke position, those hips will bring you up to 90, and you could actually rotate with the lower half rather than having to dip the front side out of there for power. So now I'm going to play at full speed, and then we'll take a look at Tom Brady throwing, and you guys will kind of see what I'm referring to in terms of the backstroke and the timing. So you see when he goes to throw this thing, ball is very relaxed, and when he goes back with the ball, there is some kind of backstroke position. This is exactly what I'm talking about, because his front foot is getting down right now. So that's where we want to be. He's transferring his weight from back leg to front leg. He's getting his hips involved with the throw, but there is some kind of backstroke position. So now when his back hip starts to rotate, his front hip starts to open up, what does that do to the arm? That brings it up to 90. It's not a manual lift of the ball to 90 because he doesn't have that flawed front side. He lets the hips bring his arm to that 90-degree angle. Naturally, it will do that. So when he goes to rotate through, you see how that ball stays behind his hips. His back hip, his front hip are opening up, and that ball trails behind. That's how we know, fellas, that you were throwing with your lower half. When you go back to that last example right here, you see what happens. The shoulders are way ahead of the hips, and that's when you lose power, and that's when that puts stress on the shoulder and the arm, just solely because he didn't have that backstroke position. But because Brady in this position had a backstroke, that hip rotation, that hip drive is what brought the ball up to 90. That gave him more power, and he didn't feel the need to lean out of there with his head. So guess what? His release point is at a completely fine spot, and he's able to be a lot more accurate. Now, again, he has a very high release point. That's not bad. You see a lot of people talk about throwing motions on Instagram, wherever the hell it is, and they're trying to invent arm angles. And it's just the dumbest thing in the world because no quarterback throws the ball the exact same way. Everybody throws the ball differently. You might have a high arm slot. You might have a lower arm slot. It's not an issue. As a quarterback coach, you need to try to develop the actual athlete and try to develop the most efficient way for him, not reconstruct the motion so it looks cool in a damn video. You're trying to make sure that he is the most efficient quarterback when he steps foot on that field, not to make some cool off-platform bullshit throw. So that's the whole goal of the throwing motion. Let's be efficient. Let's make sure that I have some kind of a backstroke so that hip rotation can bring the arm up to 90. I take the stress off my arm. I don't need to lean out of the throw solely because I had the right type of motion. Front foot got down as I was in my backstroke, and the hips brought my arm through. That is the main key here, fellas. Make sure that you're treating it like hitting a baseball, not throwing a baseball with that elbow swing, with that arm going straight to 90 degrees. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. This is textbook motion here by Brady. Again, he has the nose tilted down. Not saying that that's correct, not saying that that's wrong. Some guys have that nose of the football tilted up. Some guys have maybe a tighter backstroke angle. Some guys drop the ball low. You look at Mahomes, you look at Kyler Murray, they might drop it a little bit lower than this. There's no problem with that. Everybody throws it differently. You just have to make sure that when this goes back, the front foot is getting down. The hip rotation brings it up to 90, and it may not even be a perfect 90. This is kind of an acute angle right here, not a perfect 90. That's all that matters, fellas. The hips make the throw. The weight transfer makes the throw. Your backstroke just has to time up with that foot strike, okay? I'm going to play full speed now. It's a great textbook throw from Brady showing that not everybody's throwing motion is perfect. It's about the weight transfer. It's about the hips, and it is about the timing of your throwing sequence. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys as usual. And again, fellas, we're traveling out to 3 more states this offseason for a 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camp. So we're coming out to Nashville, Tennessee, Salt Lake City, Utah, and then Los Angeles, California. So if you guys are local to one of those states, don't hesitate. Check out that very first link in the description below. It gives you all the information and what you need to bring, what we're going to be covering, and how you guys can sign up. So again, very first link below. I'll see you guys next time.